We're back on the couch. I am Timo FPV, and we're here back with another video. This is gonna be a little different. This is not a part of the challenge that I'm doing right now. Check that out right there, that playlist. Check out that challenge. We're learning freestyle tricks together. So yeah, but this is not a part of that. This one though is simple. When I answer this question, what do you need to get good at FPV? Let me get my stuff, okay? Let me get my stuff and we'll get into it. Get that little guy in focus. Look at him. So this is a first-person view drone. You can see right here, there's a camera, all right? This is what makes it a first-person view drone. So you put on some goggles and you see through the drone. So as you're flying, you see what the drone sees. All right, so right now the drone would see the camera. This is a 5-inch drone. It's a 5-inch, this is more of a freestyle build. So with this drone, you see what the drone is seeing. You can view what it's viewing as you're flying. And that's what makes it so fun, honestly. That's what makes it a little challenging as well. Because it's a little weird on your brain the first time, and it's a little unnerving when you're just looking at the screens in the goggles. So there's a lot of questions about which drone is better. Well, what do you need to be really good at FPV? You know, what do the pros fly? What do the amateurs fly? Can I just go pick one up at Walmart? You know, I believe there are 4 things that you need to be really good at FPV. The 4th one is really going to surprise you. Okay, but let's start with number 1. Number 1, you need a radio. All right, you need a controller. You need something to operate the drone with your hands. This is the Radio Master Zorro. I changed the gimbals on it. I also have the Jumper ELRS module. So the Zorro that I actually got, the Radio Master Zorro that I got, is the basic one, the most basic one. It's the CC 2500 version, which I think is FreeSky receiver, which is what my drone used to be. So it worked, it was fine. However, I switched to ELRS, and so I had to get a module on the back, and this works great. I've never had a problem. So you need a radio. Most radios, it just comes down to preference. You know, what do you like more than the others? I like that this feels like a game controller, honestly. It's a little bigger. It has actual switches that you can move and manipulate. I like that. The screen's big enough, but not too big. I don't feel like I'm carrying around a briefcase. The gimbals feel nice, you know. They're not weird. It gets the job done, and for me, that's all I want. And it's not super expensive. This was not crazy expensive for the most basic version. And here's why I believe this should be your first purchase, and this is the most important purchase, because this can get you into the simulator. Most controllers, most radios, you can plug into a simulator on a computer, whether that's Liftoff or Velocidrone or whatever the simulator is. Most of the big name ones are good. They're good enough to do what you need to do, which isn't to teach you to become the best pilot. It's to teach you to become a better pilot. All right, there's a big difference. First thing, you need a controller. Controller connects to the drone. Controller also connects to a computer for a simulator. All right, number 1. All right, I'm gonna put number 2 on this list, which is the drone. So this is I believe this is a Beta FPV Meteor 65, 75, or 85. I don't really remember. This is the Beta FPV Tiny Whoop. This is ELRS analog version. It takes a 2S battery, which is a really small battery. Luckily, the 2S batteries are also pretty cheap, which brings me to my favorite thing about this. It's very cheap. I got this off Facebook Marketplace for like $60, and it works great. Never had a problem with it. I have crashed it into walls and ceilings. I've only broken 1 prop, and I didn't even break the prop. I only broke the hole that the prop slides into. It works great. I've never had a problem with it. This is the drone that I let my friends fly. Like if they want, if they're like, oh, what's FPV? I say, hey, you can fly this thing. They can crash into the wall with no experience, and it's not broken yet, which is cool. So it's just fun. This one is a lot of fun. You don't put a camera on or anything. That's why I personally think this is just about getting better. You learn to fly in tight spaces and small spaces, which I'm still learning. I'm not the best at, but I'm getting there. But it's a lot of fun. So there's this drone, which I think is a good entry point into FPV. And these are just my opinions, by the way. Like I have a view of FPV that I have, and yours might be different. That's cool. I think this is a good idea. The other option is to go straight for the 5-inch. 5 inches is like, this is the most popular size of racing drones, freestyle drones, whatever you want, you know, whatever type of drone you're after. And what's cool about these is, personally, I think flying them is a lot of fun. It's a little more challenging simply because of the weight, and also the batteries are a little bigger. I learned so much of FPV simply by putting together this drone. This is one I built myself. I've had to switch out parts because it's broken a number of times. I think this right here symbolizes the best entry point into FPV. If you have the radio and you're like, man, I really want to learn, and not just how to fly the quad, but how to fix it, how to, you know, what all the parts are, what they do, and really get into the guts of FPV, do this route first. Go with the 5-inch. Because once you have the basics on the sim and you can fly it, really, like, yeah, you'll crash it sometimes, but you'll have a good base of, I can fly it without crashing most of the time. Again, just my opinion. Third thing you need, the goggles. You need the goggles. First of all, let's just put them on real quick. They look cool, all right? They look awesome. I'm actually told I look like a total geek when I put these on, but I'm okay with that because I feel so cool right now. Look at me. Rad. So you need the goggles. These are the Sky Zone 030s. These weren't actually my first ones. The first ones, I'm sure a lot of people who flew FPV had, were the EV800D, those big box goggles, the diversity ones. If you're thinking about getting them, listen, go for it. Especially for your first pair, they're really good. Because I still use that as a second monitor when I'm flying sometimes. So, but these are my second pair, and these are the Sky Zone 030. But the goggle lets you see what the camera's seeing. To make it first person, this is what you're using. You need a good VTX and good goggle to actually make it FPV, because, and the reason I think you need these things, the reason I'm saying this is not because you don't need the best VTX. You don't need the best goggles, the most expensive. You don't even need digital. You don't even go all out and buy digital. You don't need the most expensive, fastest drone. You just need something that's reliable. And that's what this radio, that's what these goggles are. They're reliable enough that I can go out and fly consistently. To fly FPV, you need something that's reliable. Otherwise, if it's not reliable, how are you going to get better? How are you going to have the time to improve? Which leads me to my fourth thing. What do you need to get good at FPV? You just need time. Sorry if that's not what you wanted to hear, but you just need time. The only thing that's going to make you a better pilot is stick time, is actually just getting better. I think start off in the sim is a great idea. You spend time, you learn the basics of how to move, how to turn with the drone. But no simulator is going to simulate real life perfectly. I know a lot of people claim Velocidrone is the closest. I've never used it, so I can't speak to that. I think Liftoff does a good job, for what it is. I think all of the simulators do the basic job of getting you comfortable with the basic movements of a drone. But that's not what's going to make you a better pilot necessarily. All right, you will get better. Like, I'm using the simulator in my challenge videos to get better, but I'm also going out and flying the actual drones, because the simulator can't simulate everything perfectly. So there's some things that only flying the actual drone in the actual air will afford you, and that comes with time. See, to get better, it just takes time. There's no shortcuts. Yeah, it's tedious, but it's worth it. Listen, and here's my recommendation. Find a process that works for you. All right. But what worked for me was starting in the simulator, and I slowly learned. I only had this 5-inch for a while, and I can only fly in specific places because of where I live. So I didn't have that much time every single week to fly. I only had 2 batteries mostly. But the process that worked for me was I did the simulator, learned how the basics of flying, and when I could, I got out and I just went slow. I went so slow. I flew this like I was actually flying it, like I wanted to fly it. I put a GoPro on it, and I flew it like I wanted. I tried to go, those cinematic shots is what I was going for. Not really for the shots, but just to learn how to get better. And it was a slow learning process for me. It was very tedious. It's very slow. Like, that's the process that works for me. Maybe that process doesn't work for you. Maybe your process is just getting a drone, getting a ready to fly kit, and going outside and just straight flying outside, right? Maybe that process works for you. I don't think it was going to work for me, so I didn't do that. But when it comes to learning, to getting better at FPV, simply find time to find a process that works for you and don't rush it. Take the time. If you look at the pros, man, you look at those guys who can fly crazy amounts. They can just zip around wherever they want. They didn't get that way by just sitting around and not practicing. They got that way by practicing and practicing intentionally, right? There's an old saying in sports, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So when you practice, make it perfect practice, all right? I think that's the best advice we can have for this journey of FPV. So just to recap, you need a radio, drone, goggles, and fourth, most importantly, you need time. Don't rush it, take your time. That is all for me. I hope you've had a great time just now. I'm Timo FPV, stay soaring.